This is video 2, building the radio button math example on PDLB software for the Pico Display baseboard. The code for this video and more information is at the GitHub site. The information presented in these videos on PDLB should work as well on any PicoMite board that supports the SSD 1963 LCD display. Also, pin definitions are clearly defined at the beginning of code files. As this channel covers multiple microcontroller solutions over time, please subscribe to stay informed and click like, as that really helps. PicoMite has a large set of advanced graphics controls, along with the mature Basic programming language that provide a great interactive experience for users. The examples in this video series hope to highlight many of these features. In this session, we explained number boxes, radio buttons with the frame, a display box, and code file. In this video, we begin explaining the details for building a display page using the PDLB software. And here is a clip showing the finished display. Alright, here is the PicoMite with the program that we just pushed to it. You can see that it's got the defaults of 2 and 3, and it's already calculated a sum of 5. So how does this work? Well, we can click on A, and you can see there's a number box. And now we can select values and click enter. And when we do, I've entered in 22. 22 plus 3 is 25. You can see it's immediately summed. If we instead checked and clicked the multiply radio button, then it would take 22 times 3 to give a value of 66. Let's go back to add mode. And B works the same way. We can come out here, put a value, say, of, we can cancel that. Put a value of, say, 33 and enter that, and trying to keep the math simple. And now you can see we have 22 and 33, and that gives a value of 55. If we chose the multiply function, you have 22 times 33, which is 726. And that's it. Okay, let's create the display. We begin by creating a project folder called Video 2. To do that, we come to the menu, we come down to New Project Folder, we select it, we locate our workspace folder. Now we locate this button called New Folder. We click it, we type in the folder name that we want, in this case Video 2, we hit enter. That puts this value down here so that we can select it. So now we have our workspace with Video 2 in it. Let's go one step further and add the source file. So we're going to do save source file as, and we want to create radio button math dot source. Okay, so now that we have that, we can begin. Let's drag and place a number box control. When we do this, we're going to make it a little bit smaller and save it. Let's add another number box for B. Make it a little bit smaller and save it. Now we want to add a frame and radio boxes, and I'll explain that in a second, why we have the frame. So let's click the frame in. We're going to change its caption to operation. Now we're going to create the width of it about 280 and the height around 250. Okay, that should be good enough for our radio buttons. Let's put this radio button in here. Let's make it slightly smaller. We'll change the radius to 20, and we'll change the caption to add and save it. Let's create another radio button the same way. We'll make the radius 20 and the caption multiply. and we'll line it up. All right, the reason this is important is radio buttons tend to run exclusively. Either one's active and the others are choices that should be unselected. And the frame does this for you with no additional code. So if you recall, when we did the demo, add was selected as the default. Well, that automatically makes multiply become a 0. Okay? So if we had others, they would all be deselected and only the one would be selected. If I clicked on multiply, then add would be deselected and all the others would be deselected. Anyway, it's a really nice feature of PicoMite. Let's add the last control, which is the display box, and let's make it a little bit bigger than A and B, but not gigantic because we've got this border here. So this, your display is 800, so this blue line indicates the 800th pixel, and this bottom blue line indicates the 480 pixel line. So that's the dimensions of your display. So you have to work inside that blue line. All right, now that we have all our controls, let's save everything and build it. And let's take a look at it. All right, looking good. We've got the 5 controls, the number boxes, the frame, the radio box, and the display box. What are we missing? We could use some captions. So let's add a caption. And we'll call this A. And let's move that over. And this B. And move this over. Move that just slightly over. Just slightly that way so we can put in total. And change this caption to total. And finally, we can add a caption for the display. And we'll call it radio button math. All right, let's save that and generate the code and take a look at it. All right, it's looking good, but we can go one step further with our programming. We can set default values on all these boxes. If you recall, when we first started up the program, A and B had 2 and 3 in it, and this button was selected. So let's do that. We'll come here to A. We're going to put a value of 2 in here and update it. We're going to come into B, put a value of 3 in and update it. We're going to come to the add multiply radio buttons. And they only have the value of 0 or 1. So 1 means it's selected, so we want add to be selected, and we want multiply to be deselected. So we'll put a 0 there. And for total, we could put 0 in to initialize it, but we could also put in a function. So the display box always takes a string. So we're working with numerical values here, so we need to surround it str $ with a string function. And we're going to put in the value of sum, which we'll calculate in a few minutes in the code base. All right, let's save everything and generate that code and take a look at it. All right, that's good. We've got everything being initialized. We have a do loop here, and we're taking the value of the sum and putting it into the display box. But can we make this a little bit more user-friendly by putting names in for these control values so we know what is what? And it turns out we can. That's a feature of PicoMite. So let's go back to each of these box controls and put a name in. So for A, let's put the name value A. And for B, let's put in the value B as the name. For the add function. Let's call it radio box add, multiply, radio box mult, and for the total, well, let's call it total. All right, we'll save the source again and generate the code. Let's take a look at it. All you can see is that the PDLB inserted some constants at the beginning of the file with these name values and replaced them in all the controls, especially where we initialized. So now we know for sure that the control value of is going to receive 2 for the A box, and the B box will receive 3. And so forth. So that was great. So what's the next thing to do? Well, the next thing is to add the code file. So where do we do that? Well, we do that in the global properties. So global properties is where we define a lot of things that are miscellaneous to our project. For example, whenever we clicked on the button up here to display the source, the basic command file, it was done because it used the notepad. So we even have an add-on for MMEdit, which is a utility from the PicoMite folks. So up here under code is where we can put our code file. And I happen to have a code file right off here that we'll put in our folder. So what is the name of it? Well, it's radio button math code.txt. So let's save that. Okay, and let's go out to the file. Sorry, let's go out to the folder and put this file. So if I open it, you can see it's got functions to add, functions to multiply, a function to pick whether we're doing the add function or the multiply function, and that goes into the sum here under main. And init allows us to initialize sum. So we'll see where all these come into play in just a second. So now let's generate the code again. Well, when we do, save it, generate the code, and let's go look at it. So PDLB is smart enough to know that if you have a code file, you're going to need to initialize functions and you're going to need to call things. So it inserts init and main for you into the file up here where it matters. So you can see before everything else is initialized, we can init our sum to 0. And inside our do loop, we can run the main code, which in this case is just calculating the sum. All right. With that, we can now we're now ready to push this to PicoMite. So we can come up to the generate and we can click this invoke add-on, which is going to run this program here. And what that does is it takes that file that we just looked at and it puts it into MMEdit, which is a PicoMite utility to edit PicoMite code. And we could edit this further, okay? Or we can push it to the PicoMite. So it has another program called Control Center, which I'll bring up here, and this will push the file to that. Okay, so it's pushed it and executed the program on the PicoMite, and we can go look at it. And that's what we saw in the demo. So in this video, we learned about the 4 major controls: number box, the radio box, the display box, and frame, and how they can interact to create a program. We also learned how to add a code file and how it's integrated into the PicoMite graphic controls. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of the PDLB software and how it can help develop advanced graphic programs on PicoMite. In the next video, we will continue to build more display programs. Thank you.